Hey, good morning. It's the Fort Worth Playboy, and this is the Fort Worth Playboy question of the day. And today is May 16th, maybe 17th, 2024. But that's not important. What is important is that you're here. And what we cover on the question of the day is the most common questions that I've been getting for the last 5 to 7 years that I've been coaching game, pickup, relationships, and sex. And that's what my Playboys Bunny and myself do. And I'm going to get straight to the question. We have this show and we have another show coming right up in about 20 minutes, Bunny and I. So question of the day, should I be sexting with girls online that I haven't met yet? So there's two thoughts and two things going on here. One is when you get a girl's number, be it in person, from Instagram, or online dating through the apps, you want to get her onto your texting as soon as possible. You want to get her off of whatever platform you're on, or if you're meeting her in place, you want to at least get her on the phone the next day or the day 2 days from there. But you want to quickly and in as few messages as possible move her from online or in person to in person. You want to move her from online to in person as fast as possible. This is where you start hearing the phone is for logistics only. You want to keep it very brief because the problem is the longer you're on the phone, the more likely you will talk her out of meeting up with you. You'll say something stupid. You'll say something that rubs her the wrong way. And again, it's not your perception that matters. It's what she's thinking. It's what she's hearing. It's what you're saying and her having to put it through the filter of her experiences. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It means there's a greater chance that something may be taken wrong. Because again, when you're texting, things can't always come through, it's just flat. It's not a good, and we have all kinds of ways of making texting less risky and more attractive. But even then, the longer you do it before you meet up, the greater the chance that you're not going to meet up and you'll have been wasting your time. Again, women in the beginning, especially before they start having sex with you, are looking for a reason to say no. They're looking for a problem, a hazard, a weakness, a defect in you so she can toss you out. Whereas in person, it's much harder to do that. One, she's focused in. Two, she's invested in being there. And three, you have presence or charisma that can't come across on the phone or online or from a distance. There's something powerful about a man in the room. His presence, your presence, carries more weight than any texting any dude could ever do. Again, she can be talking or texting with 100 men, but you're the one she's having sex with. That's the money shot. That's where it matters. So ideally, when we're talking about sexting, you want to avoid any longer than you have to on the phone interaction, be it text or online or any type of communication that you're not in person, especially before you guys start having sex. Then after that, you have a little bit more flexibility. Mentally, after you start having sex, she has to justify mentally, like, why is she doing this with you? She will start looking for the good things in you and in your interactions to justify it. Well, I'm having sex with this guy. He must be pretty sharp. They have to justify their decision in their head, and they'll go to all kinds of lengths to do so. So the second set is, and it's funny because I got this question. I've had this question from a couple of guys that are like extremely successful sexting girls. But the problem was happening, and it will happen to you if you push something like this, is the girl gets into the sexting. She's never met you. She's, maybe doing phone sex. She's sending you her nudes, and it's very intense. Well, across the board, and this is the second part of this answer, is then the next day she feels guilty, or she feels like a slut, or she feels buyer's remorse, or just remorse. And she says, hey, I don't think we should talk anymore. And guys are like losing girls, actual girls that they could have met in person, because the girl, there's two things here. She feels guilty about what she did. She feels like she already revealed too much of herself, sending nudes. Now I've made all kinds of mistakes. If I made this kind of mistake with this guy, they've kind of feel like they've burnt the bridge already. We kind of laugh because it doesn't really affect us, and we don't really think about it. And it's not something we actually judge them about, but they feel guilty. And that's what matters, is what they're thinking. And the second thing is there's pressure on them. They're like, well, I won't be able to meet this guy. He's going to expect me to fuck, because we've already done all this sexting and he knows exactly what I look like naked. And to women, like, them getting a picture of you naked is completely different than you seeing them naked in person. These are like, to us, it's the same thing. To them, it's two separate things. The image of them, and which is why they'll send it to 100 men, and actually being naked in a room with you are two different things. This is vulnerable. This is personal. This is fun. And this is just like marketing to them. So you have to realize then the pressure's on. She's like, now I definitely have to expect to have, this guy's going to expect to fuck me on the first meetup, and I'm not comfortable with that. So they just bail out of the whole thing. So any extended time on the phone is a negative. Before you guys start physically banging, before you guys start fucking on a regular basis, you want to keep the phone to logistics only. Guys talk girls out of meeting them all the time, and if you prefer sexting over real sex, do what you want. But if you prefer to actually meet up with girls and have physical sex, then I would avoid any sexting. If they even kind of bring it up, remember, girls will beta bait guys. They'll kind of like start bringing up sexy topics or introducing sex before it really feels appropriate, and it's really baiting. They want to see if you'll jump on it and like put your teeth into it because you're thirsty, because you're not used to being around girls. You're not used to having sex. But guys who are sexually satisfied and have a rotation of girls don't really react too strongly, if at all, because this is normal. And they just had sex, and they're probably going to have sex with another girl in like 15 minutes after they get off the phone with this girl. So that's how you have to approach it. You have to approach it in the sense that you're satisfied and you have options, and it's another day at the office. But again, there's really never any positive to do this. And there's guys that will tell you that sexting is part of their routine, and they have a good close rate, and they're the exception. The vast majority of men will be fucking up the possibility of meeting up with fun girls by trying to push sexting beforehand, or even the longer you're on the phone. So remember, before you guys start having sex regularly, the phone is for logistics only, meaning you get on, little fun, sexy banner, set the time and the date, get off the goddamn phone. Guys, as soon as you start doing that, you're going to start seeing or meeting more women in person, having more sex, having more fun, and being known as the guy around town that girls hook up with. So that's the real deal. Question of the day: should I be sexting with girls online that I haven't met yet? Avoid it as much as possible. The exceptions prove the rule. If you want to close girls and have sex in person, not just in your brain, more often, then minimize time on the phone before you meet up and meet more women. Again, that's the question of the day. I hope this helps you. If you guys are interested in something like this, more information, this is in basic training 1 and 2, because in the beginning, back in the day, guys learned game or how to pick up women from their dads, from an uncle who was good with women, would like bring a new girl around the house all the time, and your mom may not have liked him too much because he was like always bringing a new girl around the house. And she didn't want your dad getting some strange ideas like, he should be a swinging single guy too. And again, or maybe you'd like hang out with a player and you learn through observation, or your buddies would just like pass the information along. Well, that's kind of gone away over time. And so guys are kind of like stuck not knowing how, when, or, the logistics, or even something like this, to how to move girls from complete stranger to in your bed. And that's, the sexting thing is we have 100 tips in the 2 books. There's 50 in each book. And I put it together because I was talking to these guys, especially early on. This is one of the first books that I wrote, and realized that the basics, which is basic to us, basic training, wasn't getting passed on due to like more guys gaming, more guys just online. So you're less in person, and there's less, and this is not, definitely some of this stuff isn't something you would type to your buddy, but unless you were in the position, you knew somebody who was savvy, you didn't know the answers to the questions. And the basic training 1 and 2, the basics of game, dating, and etiquette, will help you avoid a lot of the pitfalls. It'll smooth things out. Again, just like when you go to, say, the military, you go through basic training. If you're going to play baseball, you have spring training. In the fall for football, you have two-a-days. You're always laying down a foundation of the fundamentals or the basics of any skill. And if you don't have the basics, and I think sometimes guys run into this running game or meeting women or picking up girls, they don't have the basics. So they're kind of like fumbling and they're struggling. And every time you struggle, the risk is that you're going to change up your entire program, which jeopardizes the whole thing. Instead of looking and you realize that it's just this one component. This is the one part that you need to fix. And then everything else falls into place. So basic training 1 and 2, the basics of game, dating, and etiquette, is all the stuff that we tended to pass on to us, and that we tend to pass on to those that are coming up. And it helps you avoid pitfalls, and it helps you accelerate moving girls from complete strangers to in your bed, or even just making dating easier and smoother, and you're more self-assured. So that's the real deal. Basic training 1 and 2, the link will be below. It's at fortworthplayboy.gumroad, basic training 1 and 2. But I'll leave the link below. And if you guys like this, like it, share it, tell your friends. And I hope you guys have a great day.